Of the 67 airlines that once flew the passenger version of the Boeing 747, just 3 still do. And of the 13 airlines that operated the world's largest passenger plane, the Airbus A380, only 8 still fly it. While no aircraft is immune to rising fuel prices and ever-changing economic conditions, jumbo jets are the most vulnerable. They're heavy, have 4 engines, and are a lot less fuel efficient than planes like the Airbus A350 or Boeing 787. But the real issue? Flexibility. Both of these planes can be added to a new route pretty much within days. The reverse, with such a big plane? That's not possible. When Air France diverted one of their A380s to Denver, the airport had never seen the aircraft before, and the plane never made it to a gate, despite one being available, because pushing the plane back out might have been impossible due to lack of equipment. It's a big reason why the A380 only flies to about 56 airports, compared to 110 with the A350, or over 177 with the 787. But the real problem is that they need consistently high demand to be profitable. Otherwise, they just sit idle, burning cash. Which is why flexibility is gold, especially when it comes to economic downturns or high jet fuel prices. Back in the late 1950s, Pan Am's president, Juan Trippe, believed air travel was about to boom. He bet big on the 747, expecting to cut seat costs by over 30% compared to the 707 by fitting in 2.5 times the passengers, using the same number of pilots. And in 1970, the 747 entered service. It became an icon. Dozens of airlines followed. But then came 1973. Oil prices quadrupled. Demand crashed. Pan Am's jumbo investment became a jumbo liability. And even though the 747 was profitable at times for Pan Am, if Pan Am didn't go all in on the 747, then maybe they could have survived, or at the very least, it would have bought them some time to adapt. Which was a big problem because for years, airlines chased prestige. The 747 Queen of the Skies became a flying status symbol. Some airlines even just bought one of them to look cool. But eventually, airlines realized that despite the passenger love for the plane, it didn't quite equal profit. By the time the mid-2000s rolled around, the 747-400 had reached its peak, ending production of the passenger version in 2005. Why? 4 engines, too much fuel, and too much plane for too few routes. Even airlines that loved it couldn't justify it anymore. And while airlines like Delta were eager to get a replacement, they wanted something smaller, like 306 seats on an A350, and not something above 376 seats on a 747. But just as Boeing stepped away, Airbus stepped in. They started developing the A380, betting big on the hub-to-spoke model. The idea was simple. A bigger plane would replace several smaller ones, flying fewer trips with more passengers, connecting small cities like Aberdeen to Delhi through one stop at an airport like Heathrow. For a while, it made sense. And while the hub-to-spoke model is largely here to stay, thanks to airlines like Emirates and their A380, airlines were looking to diversify. Enter the 787 and A350. Planes like these made routes like Singapore to New York both possible and profitable, thanks to way better operating economics and much better fuel efficiency. But it's not just about connecting two of the world's leading financial capitals. Even small cities like Cleveland can now reach Europe non-stop, thanks to narrowbodies like the A321 with extended range. But despite Heathrow being the most congested 2-runway system airport in the world, British Airways decided to order just 12 A380s, only about 10% as many as Emirates has, which says a lot because they had more passenger 747s than any other airline in the world. Despite this, they decided to go with dozens of 787s and 18 A350s as replacement options instead. But perhaps one of the most unique things about planes like these is that airlines can also put a lot of seats on them, like Cebu Pacific. They put 459 seats on the A330neo, which is almost as many as Emirates puts on some of their A380s. Smaller planes like the 787 are faster to board, deplane, and service. They're quicker to turn around. Planes like the A380 They're slower, more complex, and need way more maintenance. That means fewer flights, higher costs, and less flexibility. On the ground, the A380 is almost 80 meters, 33% larger than the 787 by wingspan, meaning that for every 3 A380s parked at the airport, 4 787s could be there instead. Smaller planes move more people more often. Another problem? Cargo, especially with the A380, which has limited space. This is a critical, important revenue stream that can make or break a flight when it comes to profitability. Airbus proposed an A380 freighter, but airlines weren't really interested. This is where the 747 does have an ace up its sleeve, because the other thing is that if airlines can't make money flying passengers, then the only realistic option is to perhaps fly cargo. 747s can be converted to cargo freighters, giving them essentially an afterlife, which only serves to increase the value of the plane. Virtually all the A380s that airlines retired are either stored or scrapped because there's no alternative. By contrast, planes like the 787, A350, A330, and 777 can carry both passengers and cargo profitably. Planes don't come cheap, especially big ones. The list price of the A380 is about $445 million, or it was. And assuming that we apply this to Etihad's 486 seats, that means that per seat, it costed over $900,000. While Etihad also has Boeing's largest 787, the -10, with 327 seats, which actually costs higher at over $1 million a seat, Etihad can offset this by flying the aircraft more. It's no secret that airlines get discounts when ordering aircraft, especially when ordering in bulk, but because Etihad ordered over 60 787s compared to just 10 A380s, you can bet where their money went. Another problem with big planes, it's very hard to fill them consistently. In the industry today, it's considered successful to have a load factor above 80%, that is 80 out of 100 seats are sold. But if this applies to the A380, especially ones who have 500 seats or more, that basically means that 100 seats are unsold. That's pretty brutal. And yes, I know that there are some revenue characteristics involved here, like the residence suite on the Etihad A380s, but it's often much more efficient to just fly a full 787 rather than having all the empty weight and space on the A380. In aviation, bigger doesn't always mean better. What makes a plane iconic is often what makes it inefficient. Smaller, faster, and more flexible wins.